Welcome, welcome, my noble artist and talented troupe of theater trolls. This is your host, Dawn Westbrook, and let me say, I have missed you. But the good news is, ACT is back. And while many things might have changed since season 1, a lot of things have remained the same. For instance, I'm sitting right here with my glass of wine. And for the next few minutes, I hope you'll join me with a glass of something, because we're going to be talking with some of the best in the business as we focus on the craft of acting, the art of directing, and just embracing the process of this crazy career in the theater and entertainment world. I've got some amazing interviews lined up for you in the coming weeks, and this week is no exception. But first, this season's podcasts are being brought to you by both the Martha Hill Newell Playwrights Fund, whose commitment is to both local and national playwrights and holds the belief that the relevance and vitality of American theater depends on the continual infusion of new works, and Bookcliff Vineyards, whose wines are 100% crafted right here in the beautiful state of Colorado and are always something worth sharing. Well, so guys, tonight's podcast guest is someone I'm very excited to have on. She is the artistic director at the Catamounts Theatre here in Boulder, Colorado. Her name is Amanda Berg-Wilson. She is from Houston. She's married to a lawyer here in town, and I believe she has one daughter. She studied dance and drama at Kenyon College in Ohio, where Paul Newman himself graduated. Before she started the Catamounts, I believe she worked at pretty much all the theaters here in Denver, Boulder areas as an actress and director. And some of those include the Denver Center for the Performing Arts, Curious Theater, Boulder Ensemble Theatre Company, the Arvada Center for the Performing Arts. And just this summer, I had the pleasure of seeing her hysterical production of Young Frankenstein at Creed Rep and her choreographer friend, Diana Dressler, who just did a great job. Diana Dresser, not Dressler. And I believe she just did something at Opera Steamboat, Perry Mansfield. Is that right?
Yes, it was a new opera taking place at Perry Mansfield, and it was about Perry Mansfield.
Well, there you go. And so, hi, Amanda. How are you? It's good to see you.
I'm really good, Dawn. It's really good to see you as well.
So now my first question is, hon, we know what I've got. I got my wine, but we'll talk about it in a minute. What are you drinking?
You know, I just was like trying to think of something fun to make myself that would last the whole interview. And so I made myself a little mezcalida. So it's mezcal and some sparkling lemon water. And I've got it rimmed with a little tahine and kosher salt.
Oh my goodness, I wish you all could see it. It looks beautiful. Well, good for you.
So I love me a little mezcal.
It looks like a little sipping drink. So you are very good. I will tell you, I did an interview last night and I basically, it was a rosé. It was their rosé and I downed the bottle. We talked for 2 hours and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that I drank this entire bottle. I did have cheese and crackers, but he's a friend of mine from Richmond who's a director, and he and I just had a great time. So I don't know if I'm going to break it up into 2 parts or if I'm just going to go ahead and just go, you can either listen to the whole thing or not. But anyway, one of the things I'm excited about, and you probably know who the sponsor is because you live in this area, but it's Bookcliff Vineyards. Mm-hmm. And they're my sponsor for the season, and you will get a lovely bottle of your choice. And you can tell me at the end which one you've picked. But tonight's bottle for me, hopefully I won't drink the whole thing down during this. I know, but I have my pretty little Bookcliff Vineyard wine glass that people can get online or go to their tasting room here on Lee Hill Road or in the Palisades at their vineyard. And I am drinking their, here you can see the bottle, but it's their 2023 Chardonnay. Mm. There it is. Yeah. There it is. The light was wrong, so I had to make sure you could see it. But it kind of, let me have a little sip here. And see, Chardonnay is always my go-to. I love Chardonnay and Cab, but Chardonnay is always my fave. So here we go. Let's see. Oh my, that's very light. It's kind of, the acidity is light. The flavor, they say it's green apple blended, but it does have kind of like a little creamy texture. So it's not too fruity, which is nice. And actually, they say that this one has a little bit more of an oaky flavor, but it actually they say that this wine was processed at stainless steel aging process. So that would mean, I guess, it's not in an oaky barrel.
Oh, nice. Oh, I bet it's a little crisper that way.
It is crisp, and but they do say it has kind of a picture yourself by a fire with baked bread. So there you go. So very nicely done, Bookcliff Vineyards. They have a little slogan that says Bookcliff wines are always something worth sharing. So if you're listening, go online. If you don't live in Colorado, take a look. It is definitely something worth sharing. And if you live in town, you can pick it up at any, I think a lot of restaurants carry their wines here in town, but you can always go by their tasting room, and a lot of the stores like Hazel's, I think, carries theirs as well. So
Ew.
liquor
Yes.
stores. So yeah, nice job. Very yummy, yummy, yummy. And so let's get down to business. What do you say?
I would love to. Yes.
Hey, lots to talk about. So I always do a pre-chat. I think it's a good idea to do that with my guests so I can get an idea of what they want to talk about, what news going on with them. And one of the things that we talked about, of course, was I wanted to time this out with your announcement of your season. So Catamounts just announced their season. I think you're already kind of up and running your first show.
We just previewed last night, had what we sort of, I guess, a little bit in the restaurant biz is called a soft opening with the stakeholders of a new piece by Jeffrey Newman, Colorado playwright Jeffrey Newman, called The Last Night of Red Barker. And it is based on sort of a funny little snippet of Westminster history. We have a relationship the Catamounts do with the city of Westminster. This is their sixth commission of our work that they have made. And very often the pieces that they commission are taking place on and about a historical site. So Ma Barker, the famous sort of arguably head of a criminal gang in the 20s and 30s, who's been portrayed in movies. Her son, Lloyd, moved to Westminster after he had served 16 years in Leavenworth, served in the army, and then tried to come to Westminster and have a nice, quiet life, got married, had some kids, was working in a bar, and his mentally ill wife shot him to death. So right just a couple blocks away from where the show is taking place. When they told me this little bit of Westminster lore and showed me the place kind of near where he was killed, it just sort of got me thinking about the fact that, you know, some people really try to kind of write their life, but they're always sort of outrunning some past that they can't seem to escape. And so just in time for spooky season, it's about somebody who's revisiting his past as he is sort of on the cusp of his death. So we just previewed that last night, and we open it on Thursday. That's our
Great.
official opening.
And if people want to see this, I believe it's playing at Westminster Grange Hall, correct?
Yes, that's like the official address, although part of it takes place outside, including in a little pop-up bar that we made. We start the show in a fictionalized version of Denargo's Grill, which is where Lloyd worked. So you start the night out at the bar that he worked out.
Can people get a drink at that bar?
They sure can. That's the whole fun of immersive, is that you really are in the bar. You're not just watching the bar, you're in the bar, and you're integrated into a very kind of lively first scene with Charlie Klein, who owned Denargo, Lloyd Red Barker, and then you, the audience, are kind of part of the action of the play at the beginning.
That is so fun. That sounds great. Now, who's playing Ma Barker?
Emma Messinger.
Oh boy, she's a good one. They use her all the time around here. I think she won Best Actress, didn't she, for Misery?
I just won Henry. I do believe it was for Misery. And yeah, she is a very beloved and renowned actor around here. And was interested because she also has done work with Jeff Newman before, the playwright. And so she came and auditioned, and it really, there's something so tough and vulnerable about her at the same time that I think just is hand in glove with this particular
Well, that's
role.
great. Yeah, it would work for Ma Barker, but it also works for the character in Misery as well. So I
Totally.
think that is, that's great. Yeah, and I think the word that you use to describe her is I've only been here about a year, but you can definitely tell that she is beloved, that everybody really truly loves her and wants to hire her back. I always said that success to me meant not money in the bank or it was food on the table, but did they want to hire me back? And I mean, she's used, and she also seems to be extremely supportive of everybody else's work as well. So,
Yes. And she takes
but
it really seriously. I mean, I think that that's the nice thing, is that she is not in any way resting on her laurels, as they say. Like, she works hard, and she and I got into some really wonderful outside of rehearsal, like long conversations. And it's not a long scene. She's only in a short part of the play, but she really dug into it. And we really get to see her in that role.
do people travel through different rooms during this immersive? Okay,
Yes, so
great.
part of it is in the bar, part of it is outside, and then yeah, I don't want to give too much away, but
No, no,
yes.
no, don't. Yeah, but we know we can start off the show with a drink.
Yes, there you go. That's all you need to
That's
know.
all we got to know. So that's how you kick off your season. So good for you and good luck. I think I'm actually coming this weekend or next weekend. I can't remember, but I'm coming. So I've already got my ticket. You guys buy your tickets, and if they want to get tickets, do they go online to catamounts.org or
Catamounts.org. So catamounts.org.
perfect. Wonderful. What you doing next? I believe it's playing in the beginning of the year. I think it's by Dave Malloy, right?
It is. We're doing Ghost Quartet, which Natasha Pierre and the Great Comet of 1812, they did that at Arvada this last season. Did you get to see it, Dawn?
I did not. I did not. I was kind of in the process of moving and having a crazy time. But I had a friend in the Broadway version that won the Tony.
Oh, you did. Well, it's a wonderful piece, but the fun about Dave Malloy is that actually the Catamounts were the first to do his work here in Colorado. We did a piece called Beowulf, A Thousand Years of Baggage in 2017 that Dave wrote the music for. Jason Craig wrote the book for, and I think we got nominated for, it's either 9 or 11. I can't remember, but we got nominated for a whole bunch of Henry Awards, 1-0. But it was a really great production for us, very popular runaway hit. And so we've been wanting to do his work again. And he has this great piece called Ghost Quartet, and it's for singer, actor, musicians. And it's kind of loosely based on 1001 Arabian Nights, the Poe story, Follow the House of Usher. So it's all these kind of ghost stories that are woven together.
Well, that's fantastic. That seems like it'd be a good show for the Halloween season, like fall.
I know, but we're already doing this Fred Barker, the Halloween season. I'm kind of we're doing it in January and February, and the way that I'm gonna stage it is very like almost parlor, chaise lounges, whiskey. So it'll be very like cozy, it'll be the kind of show you want to cuddle up to in the cold weather.
Cozy warm and again, more whiskey. So I like how your season is starting.
There's always we really in this kind of immersive quest to really integrate the audience. Taste and smell are a huge way to make an experience three-dimensional. And so we always like to have some kind of food or drink element if it's appropriate to the show. We don't want to impose it, but it's pretty much always appropriate.
I think it's great. I saw, was it Teacups and Tiny Dictators? I couldn't remember. I knew one of them was tiny, but I couldn't remember which one. I think that Dave Malloy, isn't he? He's known for several of his works, but they're often based on classical works of literature. Like he must be a really smart man.
I think so. And I think, he's one of those ones that he's really about the way the story's being told. rather than the actual story. So I think it's always good to take well-known stories when you're trying to do something interesting and new.
Yeah.
He totally did that with Beowulf. Similarly with Natasha Pierre, with the way that it only took part of War and Peace and then, staged it immersively among the audience with the vodka and the potatoes. And yeah, and with Beowulf as well. We like, the tables were also used as the stage. So we were like often on the audience's tables while they were like drinking mead.
Oh, that's fantastic. And you such a creative group, Catamounts. I really do. I told you, I said, well, I really got pulled in because I just got here about a year ago. And your marketing, your the way you market and the artwork and everything, I was like, man, this looks like a great theater company. And so I was pulled in, and you were actually one of the nicest people. You met with me because I'm trying to meet people and to talk to people and find out, get a pulse on the city, Boulder and Denver, and you were so kind and so nice to meet with me. And the works there are always really good. I really enjoy them. And I think Ghost Quartet's going to be done at the Dairy, correct?
It will be at the Dairy in the Carson Theater. Yep.
So people don't need to worry about walking around in the snow and the cold outside, going from.
We're not. We're crazy, but we're not that crazy. We're pushing it, but I just think like people do other things outside at nighttime. Why not see a little bit of theater? Just bundle up, and people ski in, 10-degree weather. So
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think it's great. And then you wrap up the season with Feed Wood, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is that you're doing that with, I think there's a music store, a folk art music store, Wood Song.
This music store in Boulder, and Sandra Blanchard is the owner of it. And she came to us with the idea. She just said, there's this cool thing. Here we go with whiskey again, about whiskey and guitars. They're both very influenced by the kind of wood that they're made with. So she just felt like there was something there about the way that they both kind of tell the stories of the wood that they're made in. So we're exploring the notion of both guitars, their resonances, the places that they're made, the kind of music that are played on them, similar to whiskey.
So we've got a theme running through this season, and it's whiskey, whiskey, whiskey.
Yeah, right. There's no whiskey in Red Barker though, just beer and cider.
Okay, well, I'll get a beer. I will
Yes.
it goes quartet. I will get me and myself a little whiskey.
Yes, you will.
Yes, I will. And that's going to be done at
Lone Hawk Farm. Yep.
Lone Hawk Farm, and it's just like two nights.
3 nights. So, and that's a full, like it'll be food and whiskey and singer-songwriters and actors. So, if you haven't been to Lone Hawk, it's so beautiful. It's actually one of my favorite places on earth. I like, in a totally unrelated bit of trivia, got married there 21 years ago. And it's just like, it's kind of, to me, what makes Colorado so special, that you're in a place that's got lots of sophistication, good art, good, restaurants, but then you go 20 miles out of town and you're on this gorgeous farm, with Rocky Mountains in the background.
Where is it? Which direction do you?
To Lone Hawk, you go north of Boulder. So it's kind of on your way to Lions and Rocky Mountain National Park. So it's it's technically Longmont, but it's real far west.
Okay, so you go past my place, because I live in Longmont right off 36. Foothills turns into 36 going towards Lions, and you butt right there, and then you can turn left to go to Estes, or you can turn right and go to I guess Longmont. Yeah. How do you say it? It's spelled UTE, but it's or U.
I don't know. I'm going to do better and figure out how to pronounce it. I've always said Ute, but
we're going to say Ute Highway, but it's spelled UTE if anybody wants to look it up. But that sounds like a fabulous thing as well. So good for you. It sounds like the season is wonderful. And how do you come up with your season? Do you sit there and I know you said you have a company, correct?
Yes.
Do you have a board that you have to pass things through, or do you come up with this on your own? Tell me about how you select your season.
That is a great question.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, it really is. It really is. Because I also I have like not an exact science about it. I usually come to the company with things. Sometimes people come to us to the Catamount with ideas. Like after the end, which was the piece that we did that was commissioned by Anythink Libraries, that was free to the public. They approached us. The playwright Luke Sorgi, who works there, was like, "Hey, we have a closet that goes into a room, and I feel like this is an immersive piece." And so, that was a kind of a example or impossible things that we did at the Museum of Outdoor Arts. Lonnie Hands-On, the visual artist, came to us, the immersive visual artist, and he's like, "I'm doing this installation and I want to make an immersive theater piece with it. Would you collaborate with me?" So sometimes it's people approaching us. Sometimes it's me coming up with the ideas and kind of pitching it to the company. And every once in a while, the company comes to me with an idea as well. So there's kind of this nice triangulation between me, my core company members, and then the community that just knows that we do this very specific, very niche thing, and they would like us to do it with them.
Yeah, you kind of view the game in town. If you want immersive theater experience, you are it. So that's really nice too. That people know that they can come to you if they want to do that. Um, so okay, so that's that question. One of the things I wanted to ask you too, you said something during our pre-chat that I thought was very interesting, and I wanted you to kind of elaborate on it if you don't mind. You said, in order to be successful, we need to be homegrown in everything. And you said actors, directors, playwrights. You talked about there are a lot, and I have noticed a lot of local playwrights. These playwrights pump these things out. Josh Hartwell, and I'm getting to know these names, Jeffrey Newman. Tell me about what you meant when you said we have to be homegrown in everything.
Well, when I first, so I was in Chicago for a decade, and then about 15 years ago, my husband and I moved back here because my daughter was born. I wanted to be near family. My family lives out here. I didn't grow up here, but they're all out here now. And I just was like, I want to be near my family. But when I first moved back here, like almost all of the plays being done were regional premieres, right? So they were plays that had been developed in New York or Chicago or LA, and then we're kind of coming down the pipeline, the regional theater pipeline, to
Right.
the Front Range. And I when I was in Chicago, so much of what was happening in Chicago was like it was the people who lived in Chicago writing the work, directing the work, performing the work, making the work in all these different iterations, like with all kinds of really specific POVs. And I just sort of felt like when I first moved back here, like there was some really excellent work being done, but it was on some level kind of generic, right? Because it was just the same thing that, you could have gone to probably Houston or Atlanta and seen the same kind of plays being done because they had won a Tony or won a Pulitzer or had been successful in other cities. So I think that the thing that has happened here in Colorado that's been so amazing, and there's companies like Buntport. I don't know if you've had a chance to catch Buntport's work, but everything they do is original. And
Wow.
now there's a lot of us out here who are making work that is written by people from Colorado. We're developing work here. Even local theater company, if they're doing a play, even if the playwright's out of town, they've been developing it here. So I think immersive, like we're starting to be known, the Front Range, as an immersive hub. And because of what Off Center does at the Denver Center, because of the Catamounts, because of a handful of other kind of scrappy companies. And I just think that if we're ever really going to be a world-class like arts hub, which I think we are starting to be, it will be not because we're doing another production, of
That's a crime.
Yeah, exactly. But we're doing work that's specific to the people who live here, specific to the communities, specific to the history. And I'm excited when companies do that. Like that is what gets my blood pumping. Like, Patsy Cline is great. Rocky Horror Show is great,
They're all good. The problem.
but I think we also need artists here who are like, I mean, I am committed at this point to developing local playwrights and their ability to write immersive work, because the truth is I'm not a playwright. I got a shit ton of ideas. Sorry if I can't cuss on you.
Oh no, please do.
A ton of ideas, but I have learned that if I try to write them, they're not as strong because that's not my strength. So I'm trying to develop these playwrights who know how to write immersive work. And then as a result, that work ends up being really specific to this community. And the next step that I'm really excited about, that I'm really committed to, is then taking some of that work and producing it nationally. So that instead of always bringing it in, we are exporting it, right? You always want to be the exporter, not necessarily the importer.
That's a great idea. Okay, so thank you for kind of explaining that. And I think that's a great idea that you have. Now, the other question I had for you is, a lot while we're on this topic, I was going to ask you later on, but I'll ask you now. A lot of theater companies did not survive COVID. It seems that you came out of it quite strong. And I want to know how, because of it's immersive, right? And we were not really allowed to be around people for a long time. And a lot of people took people a long time to go back into theaters. And how did you make that work, and how did you come out of it so strong?
Well, that's a really good question. We went into it we are very light. We are an agile company. We don't have a dedicated, we have a office. We have an administrative office that is also where we often rehearse, because it's a co-working space that, but our rent there is very affordable, due to the fact that I have an awesome friend with whom we share the office. And
I've been there. It is a really cool space, I have to say.
Really cool space. And then we have the relationship with the city of Westminster that doesn't charge us for space because it's a collaboration. The dairy can be pricey, but we tend to just produce there once a year. So, we have built the company to be very light, no mortgage, we only have a couple of employees. So we weren't having to kind of sustain this big infrastructure. The other thing that happened is that we had an early meeting. And, I just was like, I'm just going to hibernate for a while. I was so depressed about not being able to make theater. And then one of my company members just said, I think if anybody's going to learn how to make theater in the pandemic, it needs to be us, because we said that that's part of our mission. And, we're not an SPT. We don't have a formal arrangement with equity. We do hire equity actors on special appearance contracts, but we don't equity was, very strict about not working during the pandemic. And
I know.
Didn't have to adhere to that, And so Westminster came to us and they said, do you know what's still open? Golf courses. And they said, do you want to do a play on a golf course? And we were like, we totally want to do a play on a golf course. So in August and September of 2020, we put audience members socially distanced in golf carts, and we staged a play on the first 9 holes of the Legacy Ridge public golf course. And it was a hoot. And there was something about that we were like, oh, we can do theater anywhere. We can do it anywhere, and people are game for us to do it anywhere, and we're just going to do it anywhere. So we really, before the pandemic, we always had our feed event, which is often an outdoor event. But we didn't do as much outdoor theater or just immersive theater. We were just starting to dip our toes into that in 2017, after I had in 2016 been a part of Sweet and Lucky, which was the big mama immersive production that the Off Center did at the Denver Center. Anyway, we just started to realize that we did not have to be a four-wall theater company. And then so we were able to kind of ease people back into the theater going experience by doing it in ways that they were socially distanced from one another.
That's great. And so at that show, it was actually they were in golf carts. The audience they were actually sitting in golf. Oh my God, that's so fun. I wish I could send me a picture of that because I love to like post pictures of things. Well, I'm glad that you came out of COVID. And I think that's right. I think if you are freed up from the four walls, you don't have a mortgage. You've got this great space that you can rehearse in. A lot of people have a hard time. I know that there are a lot of theaters. You asked me if I'd seen Buntport, but I know there are a lot of theater companies that have actually had to either close or they've lost their space where they have been housed. Like I know of 3. There may be more, but anyway, I am really sorry that that has happened, but I think that it's so expensive to, to have to rent right now. And downtown Denver and Boulder is so expensive.
So expensive. And we are committed to paying artists an equitable wage. And so, we pay as well as some theaters with many times our budget. And so we had to build in one direction. And I just, I don't know if this, I don't love to make a show in the same space over and over. You can only get so inventive when you're dealing with the same angles and same relationship to audience. I mean, black box theaters, if we were ever going to have our own space, we would need it to be configurable, but I have no interest in proscenium spaces.
Right. Yeah. No, my favorite to direct in is 3/4 thrust.
Yep, totally.
I have, I've had to direct in the round and that's okay. But I love 3/4 thrust is my favorite. If I had to choose, I think you can put any play in a 3/4 thrust and the audience feels like they're there in the room. And it's very cozy and comfortable setting. And I love directing in it.
Me too.
Okay. Are you ready for some rapid fire questions?
I sure am. Hit me.
Okay, I'm going to hit you up. Now, you can do one word. Some of these are like one word answers, and some of them are you have to do more words, but you just decide. And you said you wanted to do the for directors section. So you ready?
Yes.
Favorite director?
Tina Landau.
Favorite film?
Joe versus the volcano.
Pick an actor that no matter what you do, you would work with them over and over again.
Local or like, oh gosh, my company. I cannot choose. It's like choosing your favorite child. Jason Maxwell, Matt Horley, Joan Bremer Holden, Sam Gilstrap, and Maggie Tisdale. They're my faves.
Yeah, there you go. And what about an actor that is famous that you think you would probably work well with?
Oh my goodness. I love me some Kevin Kline. I know that ages me because
I'll have to send it to you. I don't remember what it is. I just read about it. He's in a new movie and I love him. Mentor. Did you have one?
Oh, that's a great question. I did not necessarily have a directing mentor, but I had some wonderful college professors who they just taught me how to have a rigorous approach towards making theater. We came from a very classical so Wendy McLeod, who is an awesome, still producing playwright. She still is a professor at Kenyon. Harleen Marley, who is no longer with us, and Tom Turgeon. They were the real deal. They were rigorous about one's approach to theater, and I feel like that has served me well, even as I've gotten all like experimental and boundary pushing. Like at the core is that real kind of understanding about how play works.
That's great. Okay, have you ever fired an actor?
Yes.
Have you ever gone into a show feeling unprepared?
I think it depends on you. Not like unprepared in terms of the pre-work that I should have done. I have gone into shows feeling like my small company doesn't have all the pieces in place, or frankly, just that we don't exactly know what we're doing, that we're a little bit going into a territory that no one has ever gone in before.
The challenge should you choose to accept it, right?
Yeah, right.
So why directing?
It's so funny. Speaking of my mentors, I had when Harley Marley cast me in a play, Rumors, Neil Simon's Rumors, when I was in
Who did you
college.
play? I was in that too. I played Claire.
I played Claire, and actually, my Lenny was Josh Radnor. I don't know if you know that actor. He was in How I Met Your Mother. So anyway, he's
Such a great part. Lenny, it's not an Olympic event.
so anyway, it was parents' weekend, and we did a performance of it, and my parents came, and we were at this wonderful sort of wine and cheese reception afterwards, and my my Harleen said to my mother, she said, Amanda is a wonderful actor, but I think really what she is a director. And I was pissed because I wanted to be an actor like everybody does when they're a young artist. And then I was an actor and a professional one right out of college for a while. And I just kept always thinking like, I just have some opinions about how we're doing this. And so I started directing when I got to Chicago, and I was like, oh yeah, this is who I am. This is where I feel that like wonderful kind of Venn diagram of like where I feel fulfilled, where I feel successful, and where I feel like I genuinely am offering something to the planet,
Right. I feel your sister because I'm an actress too, but I'm also a director and I've been doing that more, well, I was till I moved here. Okay. So who do you wish could see your work?
This is gonna make me cry. I wish Harleen could see it. I wish that somebody, I like, it's my dream one day to get a review in the New York Times. So maybe Ben Brantley or Jesse Green. I would love for the New York Times to
Well,
review my work.
Creed, where you directed, they have been in the New York Times on the cover.
Actually, there was a photo of my production of Steel Magnolias. So they did not review it, but they did have a picture of it. So maybe that counts.
That does count. It does. I'm just going to say it counts. And I'm going to take a sip of wine. So cha-ching, cha-ching, there you go, mezcal and a little bit of
already having made my goal.
Honey, that works. Other than being on this podcast, what's been the highlight of your career?
Oh my gosh. Well, certainly being on this podcast. The highlight, I would say a macro thing and a little micro thing. For sure, working with David Byrne on Theater of the Mind. He has been a hero of mine. Giant Talking Heads fan, loved his American Utopia. Love Stop Making Sense. And so to get to work with him, and it turns out for many years because of COVID he was a mensch, he was a wonderful human. And I think we created a really beautiful piece. And then the other highlight of my career is just, that I've got this awesome company and that lets me really like go there with my vision for things. And also allows me the space to do freelance work so that I get to go other places and learn from other companies and producers and ways of doing things. I mean, I feel like I kind of scored with my particularly weird little career. Like it suits me well.
You made it. You like drew your door and you walked through it. Charles Bush, who's coming on in a couple of weeks, and he did the same thing. Yeah, oh, he's so great.
Yeah.
So, and I'm reading or listening. I didn't want to read his book. I wanted to hear him read it because he's so funny.
Yes.
But yeah, he said the same thing. You just kind of, at some point, you just have to draw your own door at times if you don't fit in the mold and you want to kind of make your place in the world. And I think you definitely have done that. And you work all the time, Steamboat Opera or Opera Steamboat. And then you were down at Creed and, you're all over the place, girlfriend. You all over the place.
Yeah. Going to Utah Shakes next summer. So
are you directing there?
I'm directing A Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder, and the amazing John D'Antonio, the artistic director there, he said, I want you to come do your Amanda thing. And I just went, oh, I have a thing.
That is one of the funniest shows. I love that show. It's so fun.
thrilled
That's,
about it.
oh my gosh, that's fantastic. Good for you. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. Let me see. I can't read I told you I need to have eye surgery, so I'm looking at this right now.
Oh no, that's terrible.
I know it's awful. Yeah. Okay. Favorite stage setup: proscenium, alley, in the round, three-quarter thrust. Even though I think we've already talked about it.
Um, no stage setup,
I
immersive.
know. Okay, that's it. That's fine. We talked about that. Okay. Here's your last one.
Yeah.
In one word, intimacy directors. Yes or no?
That is
It
a
doesn't
mean
have to be one
thing.
word.
I mean, I have super nuanced views of it. I mean, here's what I will say. Really grateful that and I don't know if you experienced this, but I had some things as a young actor, straight out of college, weird stuff when I was playing ingenues on stage, weird stuff with, male directors. So that I am grateful that there's an awareness of how to create safe spaces around that. Um, mhm.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
Uh-huh.
I think it's, I worked with an amazing intimacy director at Creed this summer, and she was so sort of like simple about it and like didn't make it feel, because my worry sometimes is that intimacy direction can sometimes make things feel more pretentious than they weren't in the room. And she did not do that. Her name's Jenny Harbor. Everybody should hire her. She was just like, she kept things super just like simple, and this is blocking. And yeah,
Were
so
you able to be in the room when she worked?
I was, yes. So it was me and the actors and the one stage manager.
Because the intimacy director that I've talked to has said, directors are not allowed to be in the room. And I'm
Oh,
like, then absolutely not, because I would need to be there. I need to watch. I need to be there because I'm the director.
funny. I had lunch with a friend today. It's so funny that this came up. And she and I had this great talk, which was that what I would love is that we all get trained in it in a way that we all know how to write down blocking, and we know what stage right and stage left is, so that it's just something that it's like, okay, now we're going to the intimacy moment, and then we're going to just like shift into this mode. That's what I wish, is that we
Yeah.
all know how to do it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think that it's definitely needed. I think for film, definitely film and TV,
Mhm.
uh, theater doesn't really require too much. I mean, I guess maybe some, yes, but not as much as TV and film. I mean, they have to really get down to the down and dirty,
Yeah,
on
yeah, and
film.
they have to be, yeah. And I think like, there's obviously scenes of traumatic content or nudity. But it's just funny because it's like, as I'm so Gen X about it, I'm just like, I was naked on stage before anybody was, I'm just like, whatever. So,
Show
but
was that? Did you do Frankie and Johnny? What did you do? Hair?
no, I did. In Sweet and Lucky, I was naked in Sweet and Lucky.
Wow, you
Mhm.
slut. I'm kidding.
I-
I knew I liked you.
It was a very lovely scene. It was really, really, really dimly lit. Thank goodness.
Well, what's that scene in Grapes of Wrath too, the breastfeeding scene with you? Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be one too. I mean, there are definitely scenes that need to be, but I would definitely, as a director, want to be in the room. I mean, when music is rehearsing, I'm in the room. I'm listening to it
Oh,
and taking notes,
yeah.
and choreography's going on. I'm in there watching, and I want to be around in case there are questions or whatever. But I don't have to be taking over. I'm just watching and being available.
That's super interesting. Yeah, I've always been in the room when working with intimacy directors. And
Good. I just didn't know if a lot of theater companies had money to hire.
well,
You know,
that's the other problem too, right? Is it's one of those things where it's why theater is so difficult right now, right? We're having all these conversations about pay, about things that are needed in the room. Um, and they're super important conversations. And on the flip side of that, I think there's a real lack of awareness of how tight the margins are, and a real expectations of producers to just like keep figuring out more money, more money. And, some folks really can, but I do think that we have to realize that like there will be producer, director companies that just can't, they just come to an end of their ability to find the money. And that means that we're going to lose them. So I'm interested in conversations where we can say that two things are true, right? One, should we have intimacy directors? Should people be paid what they're worth? Should we have safe working conditions? Yes, yes, yes. Does that mean that theater is going to be much more expensive to produce? Yes. Does that mean we're going to lose some theaters? Yes. Does that mean that we should lose those theaters? I don't know. I mean, this is where I think that we need to be able to not be so kind of heterodoxical about it. Like we need to be, that's not the word I'm looking for. We just need to.
I wrote it. I was writing it down like that is a big word.
Totally used it wrong, but
I don't think you did. We're going to say you did. You used to be Dave Malloy. You sound like talking about Beowulf, and sounded very, very smart.
Yes, well, I don't know how smart I am. I just have that good liberal arts undergrad degree, but so I just think we got to be able to, talk about, yes, intimacy direction, like, but $250 an hour, woof.
Yeah, oof, that hurts. Ow, ouch.
Yeah.
It's just it's an interesting topic for me. I directed The Cake. It was the last thing that I did in Richmond right before we closed on March 12th, 2020. And there's a lot of stuff in that show, which is just great. And I did not have one for that. I didn't think that it was needed, and we all did just fine. So yeah, but boy, I love that show.
I'm going to bring things full circle for you. You know who was in The Cake here in Colorado?
Oh, I bet I know. I bet it was Ma Barker. I bet it was Emma.
Emma Messenger.
I directed it, and I saw the woman you were talking about, How I Met Your Mother, but the woman in that 70s show.
Yes.
She was the woman on Broadway who did off Broadway. And she's tiny, and kind of cute and funny. But the whole time I was watching it, I was like, this needs to be a woman who looks like Paula Deen before Paula Deen lost weight. This woman needs to look like she likes to eat cake, because she tells everybody, she says, honey, you need a cupcake. What you need to do is eat some sugar. She says it the whole time. And her love language to her husband is, eating food. She has a whole monologue about it. The way I love you, the way I show love for you is, for food, but I want you to show me love in a way that I need it, and they almost break up because of it. And I just think that it is such a great show. And because the bakery that the show was kind of written about is from here. There's 3 different incarnations. It's just crazy, that. But I loved the show. I thought the show had a lot of heart. I thought that it was just really, really wonderful show.
Yeah.
Okay, so what bottle of wine, I think we're wrapping up a little bit here. What bottle of wine did you pick or select from Book Cliff Vineyards that you would like me to deliver to you, because they can't ship within the state of Colorado? So you're stuck with having to see me like Candace Joyce.
Oh, well. Wait, I have a favor to ask. Could it be you and me and Candace? Now that would be a fun career.
Yes, I will ask her. Wouldn't that be fun?
She is a dear beloved friend, and also I got to direct her. She played Eddie Van Halen in our production of Eddie and Dave, and she was heartbreaking in it.
I fell in love with her. She was the reader. Did you listen to her podcast at all? You probably haven't had a chance, but I fell in love with her when she was the reader for Boulder Ensemble Theater, for Little Women, and then for Enemy of the People. But anyway, so she was the reader for them, and I walked in and immediately just thought she has such a sweet, just a persona, just an energy that she gives off, and immediately makes you feel comfortable. And I thought, golly, for someone to be that kind. And then her reading made your reading go that much better. Whether you got it or not, she still bumped your level up. And it was huge. It was just, you go, wow, thank you, Boulder Ensemble Theater, for having such a great reader. Because whether you get it or not, it was just nice to have someone there who was that good. So I will ask her, yes, here's her bottle right here with her little note. I have it right here. And I'm going to go see Waitress on Thursday night. And I had asked her if she could come with me, but she can't. She has other plans. So I will see if the three of us can get together.
Drink our wine together, and I'll have that rosé. I'm a basic bitch like that. I like me some rosé.
I'll tell you what, I downed the full bottle last night and got up this morning just fine. So Book Cliff knows what they're doing. So we'll get you that rosé, and I will have to deliver it to you. And I'm sorry that you can't get it shipped to you, but
I'm thrilled about it.
Yeah. So I think the last question I have for you, and before I ask it, I'm just going to remind people to, if they haven't, go on to bookcliffvineyards.com, look through their wines. If you can get to the tasting room, do it. They've got more things there than just wine. So what did the woman say to you at Opera Steamboat? What did she say?
My earring. She called it my earring ministry.
Earring ministry. I think I might have to gift you these at some point so that you can have them. Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, check out Book Cliff Vineyards, guys. And tell me, Amanda, if you were not the talented, wonderful artist and creative genius that you are in the theater and what you've brought to Boulder and Denver, which is terrific, what do you think you might be doing as a profession?
Yeah, that is a great question, because I have done this my whole adult life, and with only like a handful of kind of day jobs. I've been lucky enough to string together a living and also have a wonderful partner who kind of makes it so that we're not, only dependent on my income. But I would do something in hospitality, whether that would be, working in a hotel or like working in, I've always have this like dream of creating flowers arrangements, just something, the biggest value of mine is ritual and beauty. And I just would need to be somehow creating moments in which folks are gathered and are kind of having an elevated moment outside of the quotidian and the pedestrian. So along those lines.
Nothing in hospitality. And so you probably love entertaining people at your house, cooking. And I love to go to Trader Joe's. I do it every week. I go to Trader Joe's and just buy flowers, and then I do arrangements every week and put them in different rooms. I love that too. I love having people over, and I'll probably do a little Christmas party for people that I've met, this year, as I've met theater people and seen shows. But I'm really looking forward to seeing Ma Barker and my favorite people in it too, John Hauser, who I adore.
Oh, yes, and he plays Herman Barker. Just a little shit, but he does it just where you're like, well, but you're such a cute little shit. So.
He is a cute little shit. He is absolutely, I absolutely adore him. I don't know. There are just certain people that just kind of, you meet them, like Candace, you, John, and you go, oh, I like them. I want them to be in my little circle. So thank you so much. I know you've got Tech Week, and your official opening is October 10th.
So, yep. So we got one big breath. I'm going to take a big breath tonight and then get to my punch list tomorrow. And, but what a joy to get to talk to you. I'm really grateful for the opportunity.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your time with me, and congratulations on Utah Shakes. And I can't wait to see the show. And guys, go see it if you can. Okay.
Yeah. Amen. All right. Thanks, Dawn. Have a great night.
Okay. Well, I think that about does it for this week's podcast. I can't thank you enough for listening. Remember, you can always find this episode and others on Facebook under ACT and any of the other podcast platforms. Or visit my website at dawnwestbrook.com, where you'll find the links from previous seasons and episodes. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends and other entertainment enthusiasts. If you have questions or suggestions, I'm as close as an email. I welcome your ideas. And remember, follow ACT on Instagram and X, formerly known as Twitter, under Acting Pod. But for now, as W.C. Fields once said, a man's gotta believe in something. So, my noble artist and my happy troop of theater trolls, I do believe I shall have another drink. May the footlights burn bright and your interactions, both on stage and off, be rewarding. Thanks for joining me. I'm Dawn Westbrook, your host, and this is ACT. This season's podcasts are being brought to you by the Martha Hill Newell Playwrights Fund and Bookcliff Vineyards, where their wines are always something worth sharing.